Hey, Sooner football fans. This is your Sooner football fans podcast, and it's Tailgate Like a Champion and Beat Army this week, guys. We have our normal crew on here. We have Adrian with Adriennes Brew, Tim Harless with Cooking the Competition. Dan Donnelly wasn't able to join us with Tailgate Games. He was out playing bocce ball. We have a new segment, Hype Man Harry, and Talking with Sooners. We have from the 2000 National Championship team, he was one of the captains, the center for the Sooners, Bubba Burcham, on with us. Hey, Sooner football fans. You got Terry and Rob here. Boomer Rob.
Boomer Terry.
It's time for Tailgate Like a Champion again, Rob.
Man, I love it.
Midweek, ready to get the game on Saturday with Army.
Ready for that downhill slide into the weekend. Although the weekend's not going to be much of a weekend for me.
Yeah, you get a full day of work.
Yeah, and Sunday too, because we got to roll right into the next game. So
you'd think they give you guys a break, have a home game, away game, a home game. Well, why don't you talk to somebody about that?
I plan on doing that. I'm just going to run right up to them and say, "Hey, who do you think that is? Is that Joe Castiglione or?"
I don't know. Who would that be? Somebody with money, I'm pretty sure.
It's probably Joe. Hey, Joe, can you schedule one home and two away? And
one home, two away, something like that. Stretch it out.
Make it easy on me there, buddy.
But tonight, or today on today's podcast, we have our normal lineup for Tailgate Like a Champion. We have Adriennes Brew with Adrian from Houston, Cooking the Competition, coming up with Tim Harless, Tailgate Games with Dan Donnelly. We have a new segment, Hype Man Harry is going to be on. We got to think of a name for his segment, so I haven't given it to him yet. He told us to pick it out. He's going to be on with us every week. Hype Man Harry's predictions or Hype Man Harry's hyped up predictions. What do you think, Rob?
Well, I don't know. The ones I've always heard were pretty hyped.
Yeah,
he does a good job.
Yeah, so if you haven't heard of Hype Man Harry, he's on pretty much all the radio stations here, once or twice a week. Wouldn't you say, Rob?
He's on a bunch of them.
Yeah, he's on a bunch of them, and they give him pretty good amount of little time on all of them. We thought, hey, let's get the hype man on here, and he listens to our podcast. Gave us a shout out on his YouTube videos the other day. So
thank you very much for that.
Yep, we're going to have Hype Man Harry on, giving us some type of prediction, and later on we're also with Talking with Sooners. We changed it from Talking with Champions to Talking with Sooners. We got Bubba Burcham coming on today.
I like it when we'll get the big lineman on.
Yeah, the big lineman.
Yeah.
And a walk-on. And hopefully we'll get him to talk about what it's like to be in a walk-on, because we've had some walk-on success here.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's easy.
No, I wouldn't think so. So, Rob, what are your thoughts? First off, it looks like we're going to have to use canoes to get to the game.
Yeah. In fact, we always have a game ops meeting every week, every Wednesday morning. And, of course, the best meteorologists are right here in Norman.
Right.
And the doctor, I'm not going to give his name out because he didn't give me permission or whatever, but he said 90% chance of torrential rains. He said, but the good news is it should be clearing up by game time.
But it's supposed to rain from like noon on Friday until like noon or 3 on Saturday.
So tailgating's not going to.
Yeah, tailgating.
I mean, that field is made to drain, but the tailgate part,
yeah. And that's glad you brought that up, because Boomer Boys and Just Oklahoma Sports and Reload Status, we're hosting that big tailgate this weekend. Mm-hmm. We are moving it. We've been working on it all day today, communicating back and forth, and it looks like 99.9% sure it's going to be at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh, nice.
It's a family atmosphere. They can bring kids in, and it's big enough to accommodate the amount of people that we're expecting. So
I won't get to go.
Yeah. So
I guess the Oak Club and all that, they're moving into the Field house.
Yeah. So, and it's not that we're wimps and can't tailgate, but the way they're talking, it's just going to be pouring all day long.
Y'all don't need to be sissies.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
Get out there. You can take some soap, Terry.
Hey,
get your weekly shower in at that time.
I told Teresa when we were talking about this morning, I said if it wasn't for the tailgate, I wouldn't even go until it was game time. I wouldn't even, because we're not going to set up a tailgate if we weren't having this big event for the fans that are coming in from all over the place, and we've invited. I would be sitting here in my nice, comfy house until I had to take an Uber to the game, but we're obligated, and we're glad we're obligated. We're looking forward to it, and so we're just moving it indoors to where people can bring their families and still have a tailgate type atmosphere. So,
Cool.
Buffalo Wild Wings in Norman is at Highway 77 and Highway 9 here in Norman. So
Y'all think about me when you're having a good time and I'm working.
But anyway, so weather's going to be a definite impact on this game. Army comes in. Jeff Monken, their head coach, did you hear what he said about Oklahoma in his press conference or in an interview? There's no flaws in that team.
Wow.
Yeah. I heard somebody say, has he listened to Oklahoma radio?
That's a bold statement, Cotton.
So, but a lot of respect. I mean, I think that's what it meant. It's just,
I think that's what he's trying to say.
Yeah, and maybe he looked at it from his team standpoint. There's not a lot of, there's just not a lot of opportunity that they're going to be able to do much. Is I think kind of what he's saying.
So, do you think the rain would benefit, or who would it benefit?
I think honestly, it benefits Oklahoma. Because we're more of a straight downhill running. The option, going to be pitching that ball around triple option is going to be rough to handle. But like if it's not raining during the game, and like you said, that field drains and dries, it's not going to be an issue. I mean, so. But I think if it's,
I don't know. I think it probably benefits them just because, 90% of their offense is running the football.
Right.
So it handicaps half of our offense.
Right.
Because you can't hardly throw the ball in a torrential down.
Right. Well, but people were talking about that earlier today, and I just looked up some stuff. The last time we had a torrential downfall during a game was back in 2014 against Kansas. And we had 549 yards of total offense, 510 yards rushing,
all by,
and 427 of those were by one guy. So
I was there.
So I think
I was in the stands actually.
Yeah, I think we're going to be okay running the ball. I think we're going to be able to run the ball.
Right, yeah.
I think it's going to hamper them. But they're averaging 306 rushing yards per game, 140 passing yards a game. So that's like 1,000 yards in Army numbers.
Yeah, well, I mean, I doubt we're gonna allow them to get to their averages, but I could be wrong.
Do you think they'll get less than 306 yards?
Yeah, I think so.
I hope so. So what would be a good number for you to say that we did a good job stopping them? Excuse me, good Lord.
So I think, because they're going to run the ball a lot.
Yeah.
And, some of that they're going to make it into the secondary. I think if we hold them under 200 yards rushing, that's going to be a great day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, a great day. If we hold them under 300, it's pretty good still.
Yeah.
I don't think, as long as we hold them 100 or under passing, I think that's probably pretty good as well. So.
Yeah. Well, their leading rusher, of course, is their quarterback. He's averaging 4.5 yards a carry. He's had 206 yards so far. Second is their fullback, actually. Darnell Woolfolk has 188 yards, about 4.5 yards per carry. And then Connor Slumpka. They're all listed as running backs, but I was looking at that Woolfolk is a primary fullback, but he's averaging 6 yards a carry. He's had 26 carries, and he's averaging 6. Kalen Holt is averaging 7.5. So they moved the ball. So.
Absolutely. They handed it to a whole bunch of people. Did you hear what Mike said about their offense today? So they were talking to Mike Stoops, and according to him, the first thing you got to do is you got to stop the fullback. Got to.
Yeah.
Got to make the quarterback keep it, and then you got to hit the quarterback next.
Right.
So I think that if we do that, we'll stretch the ball to the sidelines, and they're not going to outrun us out on the corners. I mean, I just don't say. I don't think they're going to do it. Not to mention, their offensive line. So the Army, all the armed forces their offensive linemen still have to meet certain weight requirements for graduation.
Right.
So these are not offensive lineman guys. These are not 6'5", 305, 330 guys. So they're all smaller and they're bulking during the year. So it's hard for them because I know one personally that was at the Air Force that played O-line, and he just couldn't keep enough weight on. And I think that's probably, they had you printed out some stuff on their offensive line, and it's not a big line. I mean, 6'2", 270. How is a guy that's 6'2", 270 going to go up against 6'4", 300 on Monty Bledsoe, or what's Gallimore, 6'3", 330,
321,
something like that. So I mean that we're gonna have just a huge weight advantage on them. We're gonna move them off the ball, I think, Terry, and penetration is what destroys the option.
Right.
So I think
and what, like you said, what do they got? We've got Gallimore 6'3", 321. Their center, Bryce Holland, is 6'2", 295. So you're giving up 25 pounds right there. Well, let's see, and the other, I think it's important to put out too is that they're not as athletic and bold strength, because they don't have time for a strength and conditioning program like what Oklahoma has time.
So
for.
Really, we should knock their offensive line off the ball every time. We should have penetration that just shuts that option down. For the most part, I mean, they're going to get their yards. They're going to get some yards. Yeah. Just, for the simple fact they do so much in the backfield. There's 3 or 4 options for them every time.
Well, and everybody said, everybody was talking about this part of our schedule, FAU, UCLA, Iowa State, and we talked about it, and Army. Well, this is a tough roll. Well, it hasn't been really so far. Iowa State was a tough game, a good hard-fought game. Everybody was like, well, look, Army's coming in, and they got slaughtered by Duke. They got beat 34-14. Well, Duke's 3-0 right now.
Yeah.
And they've beaten Northwestern 21-7 and shellacked Baylor 40-27. So maybe the Duke loss wasn't that bad. They beat Liberty. I don't even know what that is.
It's an insurance group.
And they beat Hawaii last week, 28-21, and what I understand was a close game. They won it towards the end, but they talked about it. I remember watching it as Hawaii was playing at the equivalent of being up at 6 a.m.
Right,
their time.
That's still a pretty good win for them, though.
Yeah. So, but I'm with you. I don't think. I think it's going to be kind of like FAU. It's not going to be a game for very long.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It really shouldn't be. But I know that you, as both of us, really like watching that offense. I love watching that offense.
Yeah.
And I think if you ran that offense with some hosses,
Oh yeah, it would be even funner. Coming into the season, I was worried about this offense, but our linebacking crew has proven their pursuit from inside out is just phenomenal.
Well, Bolton is he's defensive minded.
Right.
He knows where to be and when to be there, and he's quick to close. Him and Murray both.
Right.
So I like our chances.
Yeah.
Shutting that down, especially on the outside of the tackle.
Yeah, and they're just they're not gonna Army's not gonna make mistakes. They're not gonna turn the ball over very much. I just don't think they're going to be able to get around that corner.
Yeah,
I just don't think that the pursuit, the inside out pursuit with Murray and Bolton is just. I mean, they were running the option down against UCLA. They were running the pitch man down. So, I don't know. Biggest concerns on my part is with the defense, and if they do get that the inside out pursuit, our corner is going to wrap somebody up for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So
you think they're going to get the bulk of their yards between the tackles?
Who? Army?
Army.
I don't know if they can. I mean, they're going to run that triple option, and are they going to be able to move our line off to, to open up that fullback dive, or are they going to have to, but then, they don't run the wishbone, the true wishbone. They run that diamond formation. Right. They send a lot of lead blockers out on option plays, so it could get interesting for a little bit, but it's like Teddy said last night on the at the coaches show on the huddle we were at there last night up at Rudy's, was it may take them a quarter and a half to 2 quarters. He goes, but after that, you're going to see everything Army has. You're going to see every single play they have because it's such a small playbook, and everything's going to be just reaction.
So how many yards do you think they're going to get on us on the ground?
I don't think any more than 200. I'm with you. If we hold them under 200 yards, it's a done deal. I mean,
so where are they going to get those yards? Between the tackles or outside the tackles?
I think they're going to get it early, probably on maybe some busted schemes, misdirection kind of type stuff where we over pursue. Maybe I don't think they're going to line up and belly dive option us to death. I just don't. They're not going to be able to run. They're going to have to reach into the Army bag of tricks, which I'm sure is pretty insightful. I mean,
well, let's hope that fullback doesn't just burn us up for a lot of yards, because if it does, that means our defensive line is getting knocked off.
Knocked off the ball. So
we don't want to see that.
But well, right now, Rob, let's get to all of our stuff, the meat of it, and then we'll finish up with some more Army talk and our predictions. And now it's time for Adriennes Brew with our favorite witch, Adrienne from Houston. Boomer, Adrienne.
Boomer.
Is that okay to call you our favorite witch?
You absolutely can. I'm everybody's favorite witch.
Well, how many witches do we got?
I don't know. So that would just make her.
I'm like, I don't think the list is that long, Adrienne, but no offense.
You're at the top of it, even though
that's good. That's good.
Even if it's one, is that okay?
Will there be broom parking at the tailgate?
Well, that's a thing too. I don't know. We haven't put it out on Twitter. It's supposed to
I know it's supposed to be bad weather.
Flooding. Like we're gonna have to take canoes to the game. So
yes, I know. So
we're moving it over to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Okay.
And I'll put it out on Twitter tomorrow. Because it's a big enough place. There's plenty of parking. It's close to the stadium that you can drive over to Lloyd Noble and shuttle, or you can Uber to the stadium and leave your car there. It's family friendly, and the biggest thing is that it's big. So that it'll accommodate a lot of people. We had a couple of other choices, but I think it was more that it's big open space, and because some people are bringing kids. That's what some people on the what we called our committee that was doing that was planning it, and it's like, we just need to make sure we can bring kids. We don't want to end up at a bar where the kids got to stand outside, and I'm like, well, why not?
Well, it's Oklahoma. Can't you bring babies in bars there?
In some of them you can, but like at Buffalo Wild Wings, they have a bar and a restaurant. But
yeah, absolutely.
The bar, you can have kids in there until 9:00. So
okay.
Yeah, because at 9:00 they turn the music up. So kids can't be there. So, but let's get on to the witch's brew here. What brew do you have for everybody for this rainy Saturday game?
Well, I figure for the rainy Saturday Army game, we would go with something a little Army themed, not necessarily from where the Cadet Academy is, but just Army themed. So we went with New Belgium's Voodoo Ranger series, and we went with the Juicy Haze IPA, which is probably my favorite IPA out there, with exception of a couple of local places here.
So do you actually like IPAs?
I do. But I don't like super bitter IPAs. Yeah. This one only has 42 international bitterness units, which most of them have between 65 and 80.
Yeah.
So this one's lighter on the bitter. It's still 7.5% alcohol by volume. It uses the Hefeweizen yeast in it. So, it's a little... It's milder. It's got a citrus flavor. It does have like 5 hops, but it also has 4 different malts in it. Okay. So it really brings it down. And it starts sweet and kind of finishes smoothly bitter. So it's not super bitter. It's got a smooth finish to it.
So how well is that going to go with Tim's stuffed jalapeno bacon wraps and his sweet chili chicken chunks?
That's going to pair really good with those sweet chili chicken chunks because it's got that citrus in it, and it's going to really marry together well with that. Oh. And anything goes with bacon wrapped jalapeno food. Like, you can drink motor oil with that, and it's still going to be fine. I don't condone drinking your motor oil. Please do not go do that.
But what you're saying is that bacon wrapped around anything is good, and you can drink anything with it.
Yes. Bacon wrapped jalapeno anything is all up my alley.
Yeah. Yeah,
I love bacon and jalapenos. You just can't go wrong. Yeah. But the sweet chicken chili chunks really sound good too, and this will pair well with those. The citrus will marry up to that really nicely.
Okay, so you can still bring beer. You just can't bring it in this weekend.
Well, I have beer for y'all that I brought. I saved y'all a beer from each one of my things. And I just can't wait to give Rob his Framber Rosa goes. Now, I'm cheap and I only brought y'all one. Yeah, y'all got to share them.
we will use glasses, so we'll just,
there you
go. No 2 straws in the spout, nothing like that. We'll just have to. So,
doing that.
But what are your thoughts? First off, just your sweet coach that you gave him 3 points put up a little more than 3 points on us last weekend.
They did. Mm-hmm. And you know what? It was actually a really good game to watch.
Yeah, it was.
I actually enjoy football games where it's not a super complete runaway, but that's not what I was hoping for. Yeah. But it was a really good game to watch, and I was very pleased with it being our first road game that we never truly let it get out of hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's always my worry with our first road game. Like, I sweat nervously and sit and think, okay, is this truly going to get out of hand? I don't always necessarily worry that we're going to go on the road and lose. I worry how bad it's going to get out of hand and how much makeup work we have to do. So it was a little intense there for a few plays. And like everybody's been saying, the tackling issue, but you know what? That's a tackling issue. It's a fundamental. It's something you work on every week. It's something you work on all the time. And hearing the players after the game state that they knew this was a mistake, and humbly state that they knew that they'd made these mistakes, I'm not worried at all.
Oh yeah, but I guarantee you they humbly know it, because on Sunday during their individual film sessions with each group. Mm-hmm. Every one of those missed tackles we're going over in extremely slow motion.
Oh yeah,
you see right here where he's going to wrap this guy up, and this play
as far as all the rest of the offense looked good.
Yeah,
I wish we could have rolled a little harder on them, but I just feel like some things were not clicking on all cylinders. That was just that first initial road game. Everybody has the jitters.
Okay, but we scored on all but 2 series.
Yes,
except for the turnovers.
Yeah. I mean, we punted twice and fumbled, so 3 series we didn't score on, and kicked 3 field goals.
And I wanted all those touchdowns. I wanted them all to be touchdowns.
You're a true fan.
But I'll accept field goals too.
Yeah, but Rob and I have said it, and I think most fans, it's funny how everybody was upset with Iowa State scoring 27, but everybody has said, if this defense can just hold people to 20, 27, under 30 points, we'll win games. Okay, well, he did, and we won, so stop complaining.
Yeah, I'm not mad at all. It was a great win.
Yeah.
We beat the team that beat us last year. We beat them in their own house, and we came home winners. And, minimally, I don't think that we had a whole ton of injury out of that game either.
Yeah.
Nothing super freaky happened.
Well,
I feel like we're ready for the week.
Other than when it was the running back Sutton was the one that
yeah, but I think he's going to be back.
Yeah, he's fine, but I mean,
I couldn't tell if that was like a groin thing or if he got kicked in the family jewels. I didn't know.
Well, was it Sutton? Sutton was the one that looked like he got knocked out. wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. And then, like, at one point, somebody looked like they got kicked hard.
Well,
so, but yes, Sutton did look like he got knocked out. But then somebody said that he hurt his leg, and I'm like, you don't fall like that when you hurt your leg.
Well, Caleb,
you don't just
he was sitting there,
like that.
on the way he just laid there. Arms to his side and laid there. Caleb goes, "Oh my God, is he dead?"
Yeah, I mean, if that was a leg injury, I don't want to know what it was.
I was like, he may be knocked out, but then he would move a little bit. I said, he's not knocked out, but I think Lincoln said on his press conference and even last night, whatever it was, I think it was a blow. I mean, he got clocked pretty good in the head, and he's, they did all their protocol on him. He was fine. He said, I think it scared him. He had never been hit like that.
Yeah,
and he just dropped and was like, holy crap, But,
yeah.
And you'll get to meet Caleb on Saturday, and you'll understand why we get a kick out of him. But he has little sayings like that. He was just laying there. He's like, "Oh my God, Dad, is he dead?" I'm like, I don't know. He's not moving.
Oh yeah, I like I said, I always go into like freak out mom mode when these kids are hurt. It's like, oh no, the poor mom. I just don't know how people do it.
Yeah. So we're doing two things here, okay, because of the weather, and we're doing two predictions.
Okay.
Number one is Army is averaging 306 yards per game.
Okay.
Does Army get more yards against Oklahoma or less yards? And if they are less, how many yards will you be happy with?
I am going to go with less.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Jared, did you see who I was
And
pointing
I'm going to say that I'm going to be happy if it's 225 or under.
Okay. 225 is what will make you happy.
Just FYI, Walter White's at the New York Yankees game.
You know who Walter White is, right?
Yes.
Please tell us you're a Breaking Bad fan.
I don't watch Breaking Bad, but everybody should know who that is. It's a huge pop culture reference.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and I've never watched an episode of it, but I'm on the internet all the time. So,
well, I'm sitting here. I said we always have the TV on in here, and I can kind of see it. I'm at an angle. Of course,
I'm right in front of you.
Rob's got his.
So you're just over there watching TV, not even listening to me at all.
I got my feet up.
That's rude.
I know. Microphone in my face,
and
it's really a pretty good setup.
Yeah, it's a good setup we have here.
I think I'll tweet out a picture.
We're sitting there talking, and you're talking, and Rob starts pointing at the TV. So I'm thinking somebody just jacked a home run, and I look over, and it's Walter White, the guy that I can't think of his name now. The guy that plays Walter White.
Bryan Cranston.
Okay.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston on TV. And I look at it, I look back at Rob, and Rob points up at it again. So I look at it, it's still him. I mean,
okay.
Yeah. So, but hey, it's the podcast palace. A podcast palace has to have a big, nice TV and Rob.
I'm hanging out in the mom cave.
In the mom cave.
Yes.
You have a she shed?
No, I have a place in my house. I call it the mom cave, and it's like a craft room.
Yeah.
So
it's like a she shed, but it's
kind
inside.
of, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't really do any of this kind of stuff anymore now that my son's older and we don't have to do all that crap for school. So
yeah,
I really need to redo this and just put a big TV in here.
There you go. Have you seen the she shed commercial?
Yes, where they burn on fire. I crack up every time.
Yeah. Somebody finally burned down my she shed. They didn't burn it down,
Yes.
Cheryl. It got struck by lightning.
Y'all watch
My tree in the backyard got struck by lightning.
Oh, it did? Recently?
It did. About a month ago, yeah. We had a crazy storm. I didn't even know that it had happened. I was out there mowing, and I ran over these giant, weird wood chunks, and I was like, where did these come from? Then I look up at that tree, and I was like, oh, they shard right off the tree.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised you didn't hear it.
No,
you must not have been at home.
I sleep through.
Oh, okay.
Either I wasn't at home or I slept through it because I grew up in Oklahoma, and if it's my time to go in the bad weather, it's my time.
Okay, so what is your score in the game?
All right. If it's going to be all raining, I've got to go with I'm going to go with a 37-17 OU.
Oklahoma. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you want to know what Tim picked?
What did he pick?
17-76.
Wow.
Okay,
That's perfect.
Yes. He's trying. He felt bad about picking. Which I do too. It's kind of like, gosh, we're rooting against Army. I mean, So he was like, I'm trying to be patriotic with 1776, so I don't feel bad. So
okay.
He just picked.
Well,
up.
I am going to leave all my patriotism at the door because I'm a football fan, and I want us to win this game, and I'm not real worried about it at all. I want Army to go win all the other stuff that they do,
especially
I want OU
wars.
to win this game. Yes, I want them to go win all those other things, and us to win this football game.
Exactly. So
they can get all of the missile winning and the things like that, and we get the football game.
Yeah. So you're making the trip up here. Is this the only game you're making?
I believe so. I don't think that I'm going to be able to work it into the rest of my schedule.
Okay.
So.
Well, we look forward to meeting you, and I know everybody
I'm excited.
else is. And, but it's going to be a fun game. It's probably going to be wet, so bring a poncho. And
I will.
Yeah, because I think it's the bad stuff is supposed to stop around 2 or I think they said around 2. And then just be off and on showers, and then I think by the end of the game they said it might even clear off. So
it looks like the weather's going to be cooler, and you guys are welcome for that because I said as soon as I buy a cute new tank top to wear because I thought it would be hot, it'll get cold, and we'll have this great football weather, the kind of weather that I have to wear longer sleeves.
Long sleeves.
Yeah, I can't deal with no 70 degrees and rainy and in a tank top.
Yeah,
I'm too cold-blooded for that. But you guys are welcome for the cooler weather.
Oh, okay. So you're a tank top. You're a tank top girl.
A tank top and flip-flops all the time. That's why I live here, so I don't have to. Wear real shoes.
So that's what you based your move to Houston on.
Well, yeah, the weather being hot and
Yeah, flip-flops.
And flip-flops, yes.
Well,
I said, where can I go to college where I can wear flip-flops all the time?
Let's say
and so...
And Houston was it, huh?
Here I am.
All right.
And then I work in the boat business, so I can wear flip-flops to work, too.
Getting out of town. So
and they float, so that's a good thing.
This is true. Which is great here because it floods all the time.
Okay, well, we got your score down for 37-17, and you want them to get no more than 225 yards.
Exactly.
And our beer is from New Belgium, the Voodoo Ranger Juicy Haze IPA.
Yes, and you'll be getting one of those, too.
Jesus. just do not bring no pumpkin beer, okay? Period.
No pumpkin beer for you. No pumpkin beer because we're not doing any pumpkin beer.
Yeah.
But I am bringing the beers that we've had so far up to this point.
Hey,
so.
Have you had the jalapeno beer here in Oklahoma?
I have not, but I had some Hatch Green chili beer.
No. There is a little brew house over in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, and I think they're still doing it. But they have a jalapeno beer.
That doesn't sound good at all.
And it's not it goes really good with nachos. I know that sounds...
Is it the one that has the weird name? I know what you're talking about. I drive through Broken Bow all the time.
Hochtown.
Yes, when I'm going through there, yeah. When I go through there because my family lives in Poto.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of a different direction from where I'm going this weekend.
Yeah.
So I drive through there all the time.
Yeah.
And I've actually stopped at the Girls Gone Wine place and a couple of different things in there, in there. That area has really grown a lot. But no, I will definitely have to check that out and see if they have the jalapeno beer. That sounds interesting.
Right across from the Girls Gone Wine is the Grateful Head Pizzeria.
Yes.
They sometimes will have it in there.
Oh, okay.
And
I haven't been in there yet, so.
But if you're drinking it by itself, it's not really good. But if you're eating like nachos or tacos, it's perfect. Because it just has that. It's like, and the only way I can explain how the beer tastes, the beer tastes like a jalapeno smells. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I felt about the Hatch Green chili beer. Is it tasted like if you were eating it with something that it complemented, it'd be fine. I'm not going to throw those back on their own.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right. Well, Adrian, again, appreciate your time and your predictions.
Yes, sir. You guys have a good night, and I look forward to seeing you this weekend.
We will see you then. Boomer.
All right. Boomer.
All right, everybody, now it's time for Cooking the Competition. As always, our resident grill chef is Tim Harless. Boomer Tim.
Hey, Boomer Sooner, guys.
How's it going today?
Hey, it's Wednesday, which means we're just that much closer to the weekend, so it's going good.
Yeah, so you told me what you were going to have and present to everybody to cook for their tailgate this weekend, and it has a theme behind it. What is the theme? Tell everybody the theme behind this one.
Yeah, absolutely. In honor of the mass hysteria that was Iowa State, we're going to go with a wrap-up theme, if you will. Maybe to motivate, not that they need our help, and maybe to just give a little bit of humor to maybe some people who are a little bit uptight.
I think everybody's uptightness has gone away. I think it kind of went away on Tuesday, but it was alive and kicking Saturday night and Sunday morning.
Definitely.
I put on Twitter that
I thought we lost the game.
I know.
The way that people were acting.
We had family in and we were going to the fair, and when the game was over, me and Caleb were sitting there and we started watching another game, and I took a little, game after with a couple beers in you siesta, until we were ready to go to the fair. And so I didn't look at Twitter or anything. And when we were leaving, Cato was like, "Oh my God, Dad, have you seen Twitter?" I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "People are going absolutely berserk." And I was like, "Really?" Well, I still didn't look at it. Went to the fair and got back. Well, the next morning I looked at it and I was like, "Good God!"
It was unbelievable.
Yeah, we've talked about it. Rob and I talked about it on the podcast Monday. It's an issue that is easily addressed, but in my and I think Rob's too. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to speak for you, Rob, but not wrapping up the basics of tackling is just bad effort. I don't care what anybody says. You're not going to tell me that Coach Stoops and every other coach on there teaches them to tackle like they were tackling, throwing that shoulder into them. When you do that, you're not putting the effort in. My opinion. So.
Yep. Yeah, it's almost like everything going on this year is making Mike Stoops prove that he knows what he's doing, because they were in the right spots. They just didn't make the right plays. Right. And so, some of the themes are still there.
They talk about, guys broke, receivers broke, 3 and 4, 2, 3 and 4 tackles. The good thing about that is there were 2 and 3 and 4 guys around him. The bad thing is they didn't tackle, but there was always a herd of white jerseys around that ball. So they'll get that.
Yeah. And I think just the physical side of it, if you've got a 6'6", 240-pound receiver and you have a 5'9", 160-pound defensive back, that receiver should win that physical match every time, just for pure size. And those Iowa State guys, they always seem to have the same type of receiver year in and year out. And it's hard to do.
But you're right. He should win it every time. What people don't look at is that he didn't win it every time. Motley was always, was it Motley? I'm right, Rob?
Yeah.
Motley. Yeah. He was in position every time. He just lost the battle. You can't. You couldn't recover. You couldn't cover a guy any better than he did. But he won more than 50% of those battles. It's just that.
Well,
simple.
He ended the game, so I was loving. I love the way it ended.
So the theme is wrap. So what are we wrapping up?
Yeah, so we're gonna have we'll have two things this week. The first thing is a brown sugar chili bacon wrapped chicken, and it's super simple. You need chicken breast, and you'll cut those chicken breasts into cubes. You will wrap them in bacon, and then use a toothpick to keep the bacon in place. And then you make a mixture of brown sugar and chili powder. So it's sweet and it's got some heat to it. And you roll that chicken in that brown sugar, and then you put it You can put it directly on the grill. I always use kind of a rack to put them on so it's elevated a little bit higher, and you cook those things until they're done. And they end up, they're bite size, so they're like poppers, and they're like candy. And the second thing is a bacon wrapped to go with the theme, cream cheese stuffed jalapeno. So it's basically we could even call it the healthier version of a jalapeno popper, just because it's not fried and breaded. So, right. Cream cheese. I use cream cheese, cheddar cheese, and then pepper jack cheese, and I kind of mix it together.
Yeah.
And then I have before even cooked up some bacon before and chopped it up and then put it inside there and then wrap it in bacon, and then you just put that thing on the grill until the bacon is the way that you want it, and that bacon helps protect that jalapeno so it doesn't burn. So,
right.
Two different wraps, both wrapped with bacon, and for me, you can't go wrong again with bacon.
Yeah, bacon and jalapeno, in my opinion, is the bomb.
Absolutely.
And it's funny you're talking about the cream cheese. Me and my wife started making them here at our house, but we used to go over to friends' houses for an away game, and they always had bacon wrapped jalapeno, and they had it with cream cheese, and I just thought, man, I bet you this would be really good with cheddar. And that's all I put in mine is just cheddar. And
yeah.
And it's funny you said sometimes you cook up a little bit of bacon. What I do sometimes is I get the real bacon bits, that come in the sealed bag that are, that you put on. I sprinkle those in there and then wrap.
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
It makes it even more amazing. The more bacon, the more. The more better. Let's just put it that way.
That's good English and good food. I like it.
Right. So, are you going to be coming to the game Saturday?
I'm actually going to be working this weekend, so I'm hoping to get home in time to, unfortunately, have to buy the game, but I'll be watching.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it looks like probably not many people are going to be tailgating on Saturday. So there's going to be stuff that you can cook at another time, because I guess we're expecting torrential downfall from like noon on Friday to noon or 2 on Saturday. So,
man, it sounds fun.
Yeah, but just another public service announcement. Our tailgate we were doing with Boomer Boys and Reload Status and Just Okay, it's been moved to Buffalo Wild Wings, which is never a bad thing either. So
very nice.
Yeah, we're just setting a time and stuff. I've got to talk with them tomorrow, but we're going to be doing it so nobody's standing out in the rain, and Buffalo Wild Wings is close to Lloyd Noble, so people can drive over there or Uber to the stadium, but drive over there, park at Lloyd Noble, and ride the shuttle. So try to stay a little bit dry. So that's why I bring that up, because of the rain. What do you think is going to happen with this game with all this rain that's happening?
Man, I tell you what, I heard somebody talking about today that rain, unless it's just 6 inches of water on the field, but the fields are so much better than they used to be. It's a dry ball every time. So, they swap the balls out, and so I don't know that rain's going to have as much of an impact as it would have, 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
But it definitely favors an Army, that runs the ball 98% of the time. And, OU has got a good run game, but they're more balanced. And so it does kind of put some emphasis on ball security, and, throwing a pass and catching a pass in rain is just harder than when it's dry. So, it's just all of these little elements keep adding up to make it a kind of a more interesting matchup than I think we probably thought early on before the season started.
Yeah, so Army...
So you calling it a close game then?
Yeah, you're calling it a close game?
Oh, no. I don't think it'll be a close game.
All right, then.
Didn't go that far.
I did my best to... No, I didn't. Don't call me a liar now. No, it's one of those games that you feel bad picking, because any kid, and these are kids, any kid who goes to a service academy and does athletics on top of that, they're the biggest studs on the field.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even close.
Did you hear?
Go ahead.
Did you hear what Coach Kish? He used to coach at Texas. Good God, Army.
Yeah.
And basically they're up at 5:00. They're with their unit in the field for, I guess, exercise. They get, I think 30-minute breakfast, and then they're in class. During their lunch, they meet with the coaches, their coaching group at lunch, and they go over film. They go to class until about 4, I think he said.
It's a ridiculous schedule.
They practice from 4 to 6 or 4 to 6:30, whatever the allotted time is. After that, they lift weights because they have no other time to lift weights. They don't have a weight program like Oklahoma does, and then they have to go to some, I guess that's like study hall or something, to do their schoolwork, and then they have to be in bed and lights out at 11.
That's insane.
And that's like 5, really it's like continuous. Their weekends, they really don't have off. And that's even true with the military academy,
Yeah.
It's just, it's insane that's the type of, schedule that they have. Basically no downtime. It's schoolwork and football. So So what we're doing, we're going to pick scores and stuff, but what we're doing too is we're stealing this off of Toby and Teddy last night on the huddle at Rudy's. Is Army is averaging 306 yards per game. Do they get more or less than that, and how much more or how much less?
Oh my goodness. I think they get less than that. I think who they play, which they've had a pretty good, first couple games that they played against, decent team. But, this is, for OU, this is a game where they don't have to react as much. It's more of a mental game. If this guard pulls this way or goes this way, here's what I do. It's more of a, A is this, B is this, C is this, and so it takes a lot of the guessing out of it. Even though they run the triple option, and it does look confusing to us in the stands watching who's got the ball, but they've gone over so much game film. So I think it really kind of plays into one of OU's strengths, which their defensive line has been really good this year, and linebackers flying around just tackling the ball. And so I think they hold them to less yards than that.
Okay, now how many less? 200? Or what's a success for you? 100 yards, 200 yards?
What was that total number again?
306.
306. I would say around 200. Okay. And the hard part is Army's going to have the ball longer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just statistics of
the problem. They're going to try to stretch out this game. The problem is can they get third? If they get in third and long, or how many times are they going to have more than a 3 and out is going to be
absolutely.
Is going to be the issue.
4th and short, they're probably going for it.
Right. So. Okay, score prediction.
Yeah, great question, by the way. That was good.
Thank you.
I feel bad for picking. Again, it goes back to
I know it doesn't feel right, does it? It's like, man, I shouldn't be rooting against these guys.
when you pick against your people. But so in honor of that, I'm going to go Army. We'll see if you guys can get this. Army 17, OU 76, and so we'll go with a 1776 theme. And if I'm right, that's awesome, and if not, at least it's 1776 is the start of our country. So
yeah. So you think earlier in the year I didn't think it was going to be that. I didn't think it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a close game. I just don't think there's any way Army is going to keep up with this offense.
Right.
There's just no way.
Yeah.
So, and the question is how quickly does, and especially with a wet field and everything, how quickly Lincoln calls the dogs off,
Yeah. Right.
I would think he pulled them off at FAU, 7, 8, 9 minutes into the second quarter. He's got to leave them in longer than that because, we're rolling into, conference play, even though we play,
right.
We got Baylor in Texas. So I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, and even then, you have to think whatever quarterback comes in, whatever second group comes in, and maybe even third group. Those are guys on scholarship at OU, and so they're still going to be superior athletes as far as football goes than what Army has out there. So he may call the dogs off as far as putting the ones down, but can Army stop, our other 6'3" wide receiver who runs a 4.5? Like there's just they just keep reloading, and so I think the talent gap will be pretty noticeable.
Yeah.
And probably pretty far into the game, because even whatever Tanner comes in or whoever comes in at quarterback is still going to be a better quarterback, the best quarterback on the field when he's out there.
Yeah. All right. So on the menu is jalapeno, bacon wrapped, and then sweet bacon. What was it? Sweet bacon chicken or wrapped chicken?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, brown sugar and chili wrapped. Bacon wraps, chicken.
Forgot the chili. So, all right. Well, we got your scores down, Tim, and I hope you're right with the win. I hope you're not right with the score, you communist bastard.
Listen, I picked the most American number you could come up with.
No, I feel but it's going to be a win. It's just going to be, I hope it's a respectable win. So, but
yeah,
anyway,
absolutely.
All right. Well, hope you get to watch the game. You don't have to work too much, and we will be talking with you next week. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Boomer.
Thanks, Tim.
Boomer Center.
All right, Sooner fans, it's time for our new segment that we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. He's becoming famouser and famouser every day, and he's been a fan of our podcast for a while now. But he's been on the Sports Animal, the Franchise, I think pretty much all the radio stations. But he's going to have a segment on our Tailgate show every week, and we have Hype Man Harry on with us. Boomer Harry.
Boomer Sooner, guys. How y'all doing?
Fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm not doing too bad. Not too bad tonight.
So, thanks a lot for joining us, and we're going to make this part of our weekly little segment here.
No problem.
But tell everybody first off about your YouTube channel, kind of what you do with that, and then we'll get into the game. Let you do a little bit of shameless self-promotion.
Well, I've been a fan almost all my life. And when I moved here in 2008, I got a computer, and I started watching all the YouTube channels, and then saying, well, how cool would it be to do it myself? So when I was ready to get another computer, I ended up getting a laptop instead of a computer, which makes it a lot easier to just upload and do videos and photos and stuff like that. And then I started watching the YouTube, and I said, well, how cool would that be if I could just do that myself? And one thing led to another, and I started doing the videos by myself, and I love doing it. And that's what really got me started on it, is just seeing other people do it.
Right. So how is it that the radio stations you started getting on, because you've been on the Triple M Ranch, you've been on just about every segment of every radio station here in town, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. Like I said, I've just always loved my Sooners, and even when I was in Lawton, that was really the only way that I could kind of keep in touch with what was going on is through the radio stations. And at that time, the franchise wasn't yet there, but Sports Talk was there, and of course, the Animal was there. So I was able to just get through that.
Right. And now you've kind of, aren't you a regular on the Triple M with them pretty much now?
You need to talk to Colby Daniels about that one. But,
okay.
I do what I can. I help him out when I can.
Yeah,
when I'm asked to.
Yeah, he just wants you to irritate Sam, right? That's your
right.
job.
Isn't that everybody's job?
Yeah,
he is a cowboy, by the way.
Oh yeah, and he's a cowboy. But I like Sam's stuff on there, but I love it when he gets irritated. He's one of the funniest guys in in the world when he's irritated.
I love Sam Mays. He's great.
Oh, you should have watched. You should have heard him today. Then it was hilarious.
Well, I saw he was drinking a big giant margarita thing. Yeah,
that kind of might be added to it a little bit.
So, well, anyway, let's get into let's get your thoughts first off on last week's win, real quick. A lot of Sooners were upset with the way we won and the score. What's your take on the Iowa State game?
Well, here's my take on it. Is I thought that we played really, really, really well. Obviously, we played really well offensively.
Right.
And as you guys said, I love to listen to you guys as well as myself, too. And I don't know if it was you, Rob, or who it was, but somebody brought up a tremendously big good point. And I brought it up at my church the other day also, in that Saturday, about the second quarter, we're up 7-3, and we're on a big-time drive, and then Calcaterra ends up fumbling the ball. That's something that the guy that's now with the Ravens almost never did.
Right.
And needs to teach him how to do that.
Right.
Because if he doesn't fumble there, we're up 14-3. We go. People don't realize we went back down and scored again. That would have made it 21-3. And then, guys, that makes it a completely new ball game. And I think even the hot seat that Mike's on is put on ice a little bit just by that one play.
Yeah, that's a good point because it was, everybody know that was a turning point. Even Lincoln said, that fumble, they were moving the ball at will. That fumble put a halt to it. And
complete momentum shift.
Yeah, complete momentum because they turned right around and score a touchdown. And they take all the momentum away.
Play, right, Rob?
Right.
Wasn't it the exact next play that Motley's beat?
I don't think it was. Yeah. Was it the exact?
Yeah, it was the next play.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the second one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, complete momentum shift and points too.
Yeah.
So 14-point swing.
And a lot of people are throwing Motley under the bus, particular, and I just did too, and I need to apologize because on that particular play that we're thinking of, Rob, it wasn't just Parnell. I believe it was. I don't know who else was there. Houghton was there. There were like 2 or 3 guys there, guys. But on that particular one, none of our guys wanted to tackle the guy.
Right.
Nobody did.
He broke 4 tackles. Or I don't want to say he broke
that
4.
One play he did.
Yeah, he didn't break tackles. He ran through 4 shoulder tackles because not one guy tried to wrap him up. And that was Rob's point was, hey, that shifted. Right. My point was we weren't tackling anybody. We weren't even attempting to tackle people in the secondary. We were trying to knock them down. And there's a big difference. So, but I think Oklahoma fans have finally settled down, by Monday or Tuesday, and everybody's kind of over it and looking forward to the next game, which is Army. So, what are your thoughts about Army and this game coming up?
Well, I've actually got some pretty cool stuff here, guys. This year they have Hopkins Jr. He's their Kyler Murray. He's their quarterback. He's their QB1 this year. And last year their QB1, Ahmad Bradshaw, guys. Now this is this monkey is more of an option guy. We all know that. He's triple option. He's more of a running game. But he passed for 285 last year. Did Bradshaw? This year Hopkins, who took over, already has almost twice that at 240 already, guys, with 2 touchdowns on the ground. This is going to be, like we said, this is going to be a run-heavy team, particularly with what is projected to happen with all the rain and stuff on Saturday. But this guy, if you give him a chance, he can sling it a little bit more than you may think. I mean, he has, like, even Bradshaw, even his best season, guys, passing was at 710, and this guy's almost halfway there, and we're only we're not even a quarter way through the season yet.
Right. Yeah, they can. I think I saw that they're averaging 13 passes a game this year, which is like 3 or 4 times what it was last year. So, they're kind of doing like what Oklahoma did in the 80s with
Keith Jackson.
Yeah, Keith Jackson and Jamel Holloway. I mean, Jamel, they threw it about 4, 5, 6 times a game. Maybe not very, but they threw it when they wanted to and needed to.
So do you think they're going to throw it like that on us?
Right.
Harry, do you?
And then I'm looking at it right here, guys. I also have the running back stats, guys. In that, these are the guys. We talked about how Hopkins is a lot like Kyler Murray in there. He does them both. He's already got 206 on the ground, guys. Their next leading rusher was Wolford, who has a $188 with 43 carries. Now Smoke and Holt, they only have 26 and 20 carries respectively, but they still have a $153 and a $150 respectively. So these are a couple of guys that like we talked about. This is a team that can option you to death, and they're going to run you to death. I think that in their bowl game last year against San Diego State, I don't remember where I heard this. I think it was on one of my radio friends. But anyway, they said that in their bowl game in TCU Stadium in Fort Worth, I forget what that bowl game is, but I think that Army, the Black Knights, West Point, whatever you call them, they owned the time of possession in that football game. Right. And that's what won them that football game.
Right. Yeah,
I think it was like, I don't remember what it was. It was like 40-20 or something like. It was something ridiculous to where they obviously owned the time of possession.
Right. Well, and that, Rob and I have already talked about, that's what they're going to try to do in this game. They're going to try to keep the ball away from our offense. That's the only way they're going to be able to beat Oklahoma. Do you think they're going to be able to run more than 3 plays and out against our defense?
I would hope not. This is a team that this is what people don't realize. And we've been talking about the running game since I've been on here for the last 2 or 3 minutes here. The guy that our old buddy from Florida Atlantic Roberson had behind him at running back.
Right.
He was supposed to be a stud running back, and I've heard people say on my radio friends on the ranch and all that, he's going to be an NFL running back next year.
Right.
And Oklahoma shut him down.
Right.
Now obviously getting up 14-0 after a block punt by our new middle linebacker Bolton, that's obviously going to change the momentum. It's going to change. It's going to change what you want to do. But the point is what it is, and we stopped him when we had to.
Right.
Like last week in Montgomery, we stopped him when we had to. The Iowa State running back. We all know what he did last year in our own backyard in Norman, Oklahoma. He ran all over us last year, and this year we kind of shut him down a little bit. So it's not like Mike has played terribly bad against the run. It's in the past it's killed us, and that's not what they're known to do. Now, like we talked about, they can do it, but that's not their bread and butter.
Right. Well, if we get them throwing the ball on every series, they're in trouble. And they're not a team that's ever going to get into a situation where they'll throw the ball all the time, because they can't. I don't think. If
not they do, we're going to get half of them.
Right. And
I mean, you got to be better at it than they are, I think.
Yeah. So, here's what we've been throwing at the people, Adrian and Tim and those that do it. We're kind of doing a different type of prediction type deal. They're averaging 306 yards a game in rushing
on the ground. Yeah,
on the ground. Do they get more rushing yards or than that or less? Do you think? And what will make you happy? How many yards rushing should we hold them to?
As far as Army is concerned,
right? Running the ball. How many yards do you think will make you happy that you say we did a good job at stopping these guys?
Looking back at my running back stats, if we hold them to a $150, I'll be happy. That's about half what they average. Yeah. And like we said, it's going to be kind of a nasty night. And Army. The West Point people, they know all about Mr. Left and Mr. Right. Well, we could have the next ones that go back to back-to-back Heisman Trophy winners with different players. Right.
And I forgot about that. That's one thing I want to bring up real quick. Harry was quick to let us know on Twitter that we were asking that on our last show. Rob, has anybody a school ever won it back-to-back with a different player? And we knew
my boy Scotty got on us quick about that
too. and Harry threw it out there that Army did back in, what was it, 60?
44 and 45 or something like that. 46.
When was it, Harry? Something like
44 and 45. Well, we all know who won that national championship 45, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's some people that are confused about it, but
There's an asterisk there. There's no asterisk there. They actually played a tougher schedule. I think I looked that up. They actually played a tougher schedule than some other state here in this in our great state. So
Yeah.
we'll leave it at that. They played a tougher schedule.
But they had back-to-back Heisman, and was that the last time it was done, or has there been one since?
That's the first time it's been done like that.
Okay.
Now, the cat from the Ohio State University, of course, he did it back to back, and Billy Sims had a tremendously great chance to do it.
Should have won it.
Should have won it back to back
before I was even born. But
right.
That's the stat about the left and Mr. Right. That's not all me.
Right.
A lot of that is due to a couple of my buddies that are on Channel 5. Carson Cunningham and those guys, they actually found that stat. So I was kind of impressed to hear that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, our Army.
Brian Kitty and Carson Cunningham, sorry.
Yeah. Army's definitely going to try to control the ground, control the clock, keep it away from our offense. So, but
you got to get first downs to do that.
Yeah, you got to get first downs, and I'm not sure they're going to average the amount of first downs that they have been. But what's your prediction on the score, Harry? Where are we going to get? What are we going to hold them to, and what are we going to get on them? Wet field and all.
Wet field and all. I would be happy to hold them to maybe a score or two for 14. And let's see. Oh, Landy, this is going to be a good one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's go. Because of all the rain, and we do have Baylor coming up, where Baylor's not a bad team either. They only have that one loss to a really, really good Duke team.
Right.
That's 4-0, by the way.
Right.
So, but back to the OU part. Let's say, let's go Switzer and hang half 100 on them.
Half 100.
50.
50 to 14. That's not a bad prediction. So 150 yards and 50 to 14. So are you going to make it out to the game?
That's the plan.
Yeah.
That's the plan. I'll be there. I'll be in the end zone. So I'll be there.
Well, I would invite you. We're canceling our big tailgate thing that we were doing because it's supposed to be pouring down rain that morning, and until about 2:00. So we're moving it to Buffalo Wild Wings. So before you go to the game, if you want to swing down and hang out with everybody, we got guys coming in from Arizona, Arkansas, Texas.
The one in Moore or the one in Norman?
The one in Norman. So if
Norman, okay.
Yeah, we'll be dropping information. We're still trying to work out the times and everything, but we'll drop information out there for you and everybody else to what times we'll be there. We'll be leaving obviously soon enough to get to the game, but there's just no reason to even try to tailgate when they're talking about flash floods and all that for a 12 to 24 hour period. No, thank you. But
yeah,
but it's an indoor tailgate at Buffalo Wild Wings in Norman. So. But do you got anything else that Harry, you want to share with us, or any other bouts of wisdom?
Well, I mean, like we said, this is their Munkin is a really, really good coach. Last year, guys, they won 10 games. They won their 10 games just like we did. They finished 10-3. Their losses, guys, were to the Ohio State University, which we all know how hard it is to win out there.
Right.
Their other two losses weren't bad losses. They were basically the teams that are basically more to their level, if you will.
Right.
No offense to them, but it was Tulane, 21-17, and that's a Tulane team that last year, if you guys know this, after they played us, they had a really, really good year. They finished with 5 wins. They just needed a kick or a PAT or something to go their way, and they're bowling. And their only other loss was another field goal game to our old buddy Seth Luttrell, North Texas, 52-49. And that's a team that again won their division. Now they didn't win their conference because they took their trip on the road to Florida Atlantic and got Kiffin out there. But by the way, real quick, guys, that's a coach that might be on his way, and I hate saying this, we took their coach. Don't be surprised if they take one of our former coaches in Seth Luttrell down to North Texas. If who am I trying to think of, Rob? Doesn't get this thing turned around. Who's the head coach out there with the sunglasses?
Where at?
Doggone it, Tech.
At Texas Tech?
Kingsbury?
Kingsbury.
Yeah, Kingsbury.
Kingsbury, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that doesn't look like that's going to happen because, again, he's found another freshman quarterback that can swing it. We'll see what he can do. Well, I guess we won't be able to see what we can do because they're going to be up the road 90 miles.
Yeah, well, Kingsbury does just enough every year to keep from getting fired. He'll probably do that again this year. So,
you look who he's had. He's had this kid. He's had Mayfield. He had Webb. He had Webb's the guy for Tech that went to Berkeley, right?
Right.
Then of course the guy for now playing for Kansas City.
Yeah, Mahomes. Who just smoked my Steelers this past weekend. So,
well, not so bad. They smoked us too. Remember his freshman year, we were like we couldn't tackle him worth a darn.
Yeah.
In that ball game.
Yeah. Well, again, everybody, go check out Hype Man Harry's YouTube page. You do stuff every week, right, Harry? Once or twice a week.
Yeah, once a week I do a preview. I review about what happened. Like this week in particular, I'll say what happened against the Army Black Knight. I'll preview the Baylor Bears, and if you care, and if you want to take some picks to Vegas, I'll even give you about a 20-minute pick'em contest, kind of like what they do on the game day site.
Oh, okay. You do that on your YouTube?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there you go. You got all types of stuff, and they just go. It's Hype Man Harry is what it is, isn't it, on YouTube?
On the Twitter it is.
Okay.
Colby gave me that one at Hype Man Harry.
Okay.
But on the YouTube it's Boomer Sooner 1982. Just type that into the
search
YouTube
box.
search deal, and you'll find it.
Okay. Boomer Sooner 1982. Everybody go do that.
Yep.
And go check out Harry's stuff.
And as far as Facebook's concerned, it's just me. Nothing Hype Man Harry-ish. Nothing like that. Just Harry James Taylor. And again, you'll find it.
Okay. All right. Hey, Harry, we appreciate you joining us for this week's Tailgate Like a Champion. And we look forward to next week and enjoy the game this weekend, okay?
All right, guys, let's go beat Army.
All right.
Sooner.
Boomer. All right, Sooner fans, on the phone with us, we're real excited. We changed it from talking with champions to talking with Sooners. And he went to Oklahoma from 96 to 2000. He was the starting center on the 2000 national championship team. He was also a captain on that team. We have former Sooner Bubba Burcham on with us. Boomer, Bubba.
Sooner.
Hey,
glad to be here.
Hey, thanks a lot for joining us, man. It's you're the first. I call them dirt eaters. That's what my high school coach called
Hog Molly.
Offensive lineman was dirt eaters. You're the first lineman that we've ever had on. We've had the receivers and cornerbacks, but we've never had the heart of a team, which is the center.
You'll get better stories from an old lineman than you will from the other.
Exactly.
I'm sure that's right.
But first off, let's talk about your you walked on at Oklahoma in '96. Is that right?
Correct. When I was in high school, early high school, Gibbs was the coach. Then between my junior and senior years, when Schnellenberger took over, there was some recruitment at the time. I was getting letters, and his name was on it. And then that was December of my senior year of high school. He was let go, and Coach Blake came on, and they had a great recruiting class, signed 5 offensive linemen out of high school, 1 junior college. And then so I decided to walk on and was there for Coach Blake's 3 years. Played for Coach Stoops for 2 years, and then coached as a graduate assistant coach for 2 years under Coach Stoops.
Okay. So that would have been 98 was Blake's last year, right?
I believe that's right.
Correct. Yeah, the 98 season.
Right. So you're going through the coaching change. What was that like with the changing of the guards? I guess what was Stoops' group more intense, less intense? What was that like going through that transition?
In the transition time, a lot of players, I would say, got fat and happy. Some literally, some figuratively, just not working very hard. I was Josh Heupel's host on his recruiting visit, so I was able to have a couple conversations with some of the coaches before workouts began, mainly Jerry Smith, the strength coach. So I kind of got a little heads up. But the very first team workout was a thing of legend, I would say. We were done with warm up. Guys were throwing up and falling out. Well, I mean, I'm sorry. We were going, and then Coach Smith said, "Okay, warm up's over," and everybody, a lot of guys, kind of freaked out because they were not prepared for the volume of work that Coach Smith put us through. He and his strength staff. So, month of January, we're working out, and the coaches are on the road recruiting, but Coach Smith is definitely setting the tone for what the next 18 years would entail under Coach Stoops.
Right. So quite a bit more intense, I'm guessing, was what it...
Yeah. I mean, it was more intense. It was just more volume. The word I would say would be the expectations were completely different.
Okay.
The vision that Coach Stoops came in and set, the culture that he brought in, was just so different. And the intensity level of the work, of practice was different. Guys were getting fired and hired, faster than any TV show you could imagine. That happened every day, multiple times.
Wow. So, but I mean, how long did it take you, and other players, but did it take you to buy into that process? Were you immediately going, okay, we're fixing to turn this around, or, hey, why am I going through this much suffering?
For me, I was a smaller offensive lineman, so I was able to do some of the work a little easier than some of the big guys. So some things were a little easier for me, but I had to deal with an injury during that spring. But as far as buy-in personally, I could just tell it was different. They grasped your attention. They commanded your attention. Their presence, when Coach Stoops walked in the room, his presence was different. He didn't have to say anything. You just knew he carried himself differently.
All right.
So that's why we could tell, hey, this is different. So let's buy in and do, just see what happens, because we went through 3 losing seasons.
Yeah.
Worst thing happens is you have another losing season. Best thing happens is you have a winning season and you go to a bowl game.
Right. And which y'all did in his first year. I can't remember what the record was. Wasn't it like 7-5?
7-5. Lost in the Independence Bowl to Ole Miss. Eli Manning was redshirting at the time.
Yeah.
Deuce McAllister was the starting tailback, and he basically won the game.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. He just there wasn't a option to stop that guy, I guess, was the deal. But
he's that good.
Yeah.
He played in the NFL for a long time, and you don't face a guy like that very often.
Yeah, and as a fan's perspective, like, me and Rob, we're professional fans. It was like we like to call ourselves. But what I saw in that year is a really talented football team that didn't know how to finish games, because y'all were beating Notre Dame that year. Y'all were ahead in several of those games, and even in the Independence Bowl, you were ahead in that, and just couldn't finish it off. Is that a pretty good?
Here's how I would put it. There's 3 games that stick out. Early in the season was Texas and Notre Dame. We were winning, I think 17-0 or 21-0 on both of those games at the end of the first quarter, and it was tied up at halftime. In both games, the opponent came finished in the fourth quarter and won.
Right.
The Colorado game was a game, was not that, was farther apart than the scoreboard let on. And we got beat. There was no competition to it. We got beat. And so, I would say is there's a lot of memories from that season, and then from the 99 season that led into the off season before the 2000, that really kind of set the tone for what was to come.
Pretty much just a complete change in thought process and attitude, right? I guess, is that what
Correct.
you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah, just it took another level of buy-in to the work ethic, the style in which we were expected to play,
Right.
offensively, defensively, special teams. It just took another level of buy-in. How much work are we willing to put in the off season to prepare, and then in season, just the mentality of, I would say, the A&M game. We're playing at A&M. That's a pivotal game. That game was in November, and
Right.
I would point to the Kansas State game as one of those first games. We had adversity bad in that game and fought through it and won. I remember Kansas State blocking a punt. I think it was the third quarter. We had a bad 3-and-out series backed up, and they blocked a punt, scooped and scored. You couldn't hear a single thing. It was so loud.
Yeah.
But we had, once we beat Kansas State in that game, we knew, okay, we're about to roll,
Right.
and do some business.
Yeah, and that's everybody named it Red October, and of course we got to talk about the Texas game, because I'll never forget that game, because I don't know, through the first three quarters I was waiting on somebody to pinch me and wake me up, because it became humorous, honestly. I mean, from a fan sitting around with their friends eating bowls of chili and watching the game, 63-14, and it wasn't even that close. I don't
Right.
think.
Yeah, no.
It was just a whooping from what was the team's reaction on the sidelines as it just kept building? Was it a kind of a disbelief, or just was it, holy cow, we've turned the corner, we're this much better than what we were? What was the sidelines like during that game?
I would say there was a different level of intensity that we'd ever felt, because we had gone through and were 4-0 at that point, playing the teams in September, and remembering the Colorado game, remembering the Texas and Notre Dame games, remembering that Independence Bowl,
Yeah.
remembering losing at Texas Tech, remembering all those games. We just kept harping on, don't let up,
Right.
don't let up, don't let up. There's a saying, put your foot on their throat and finish them off.
Yeah.
And it was just a level of intensity that you didn't have to say a whole bunch, but everybody knew we had to make a statement
Right.
in that game.
Well, and
that was, it's almost like that's a result of the previous so many years of just not having success and not playing like the Oklahoma Sooners play for a long time.
right.
And we said, it's time to go. And the level of expectation, the mentality of how you go, it just all came to a head in that game, fortunately for Texas.
Right.
Because I hate them.
Well, hey, that's everybody's sentiment sitting in this room. And so I like that, because you said you basically you took out 4 or 5 years of frustration all in one game, all on Texas, which is awesome.
Oh yeah. And then we know next week we're playing the top 10 team in Kansas State.
Right.
And we're preparing. It's just the intensity of practice was palpable. It was something special for sure.
Yeah. And then after you beat, you already kind of went through the Kansas State game. You got Nebraska number 1, and we were ranked number 3. And I'll never forget that game, because my youngest son, Caleb, I think he was about 8 or 9, somewhere in there. And he was wrestling. He was in Little League wrestling. and we were in Shawnee at a wrestling tournament, and somebody had an old, console box TV back in the back locker room, and a bunch of the dads were standing back there watching that game, when it kicked off. And, my wife knew where I was at. She was going to come get me when it was his time to wrestle. And they went up like 14-0, wasn't it? Or 21-0? 14.
They went up 14-0.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, I was just like, I wasn't any hatred. I was just like, well, we were really good, but now we're playing the number one team. We're just not up to that part. And I went back into the stands because I was paying attention to my kid, keeping him ready to wrestle and stuff. And then the next thing I know, they start barking the score over the PA system there at the wrestling tournament. And I went back in there and watched the rest of the game. And I think it was nothing but moms sitting out in the stands watching their kids wrestle. And all the dads were crammed in this little bitty locker room, watching a console TV, screaming our heads off. So
it's fun times for sure.
I was in the stadium that day.
Yeah.
And on the field.
You got pepper sprayed, didn't you?
I didn't get pepper sprayed, but I was close.
Yeah, when I think didn't they say that was the first time it had ever the goalpost had ever come down in a game at Oklahoma?
It's the only time I ever remember.
Yeah, we're old, so
I couldn't. I'm the wrong guy to answer that question.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It was pretty funny because I never got involved in it, but they were carrying that goalpost around like they were going to get it out of the stadium. they just weren't.
Yeah, they weren't going to get it out of the stadium. And you said the announcer was even saying that. Guys, like, you're not getting it out of the stadium. Just put it down.
Right.
But that game was just that reminded me of the old Nebraska games. It was just a fist fight when they went up 14-0. It became just a slugfest at that point. That's what it looked like to me.
I have a little different perspective on it, being on the inside, of course. But the story goes that they're up 14-0, and offensive coordinator goes to Heupel, and because here's what happened. Coach Leach, whenever he did things, he scripted his first 25 plays,
right?
And so they followed suit with that, and then after the first couple series, we're down 14-0. We haven't done much of anything. They go to Josh, and he's kind of said, "What do you feel comfortable running?" And he basically goes through the script and says this is what he feels comfortable running, and we run basically those plays and commits to beat. From that point on, it was 34-0 after that point.
Wow,
that's not a slugfest at all. That's a beating.
Yep.
Well, you're right.
But that's how I view it. That's how I remember it. Because I just remember in the second half we did whatever we wanted to. Offensively, we had them figured out. Their blitzes, their stunts, their coverages, we had them figured out.
Yeah.
They weren't going to touch Josh. And then defensively, they figured him out. We had them figured out.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. I mean, it was a blowout, but I mean, but that turnaround, that 14-point turnaround, and it just reminded me of back, and I said, being where I was at, you hear it, the scores coming over, and then the next thing you know, you got, like I said, a bunch of dads in a, locker room back there when their kids are out, and we're just all screaming and hollering. It was a blast. I mean, it was fun. So. But
yeah, that was definitely one of those games you look back on.
Yeah, so you get through the rest, the Texas A&M game, the pivotal game that year, to get really to the national championship, and we get in there against Florida State. And Torrance Marshall, which I'm guessing you knew Torrance pretty well because you'd probably had to block him a few times in practice, right?
Oh, yeah. On Tuesdays we did first ones versus ones, and they were, like saying it's like 3rd and 4 to 6, and they're going to blitz every play, and we got to pick up the blitz and get the first down. So every Tuesday was that.
Yeah.
And a couple other drills where we went against the first team, and so I got to see him every day, pretty much.
So, did he tell when he was I don't want to call it spouting off, but I mean he wasn't spouting off. He was just saying a fact. I think, when he was out there with Winky and the
But
Bill.
here's the thing: is I did every coin toss with him, and he did that every single game.
Oh, really?
It was exactly. It was every game. Seth talked to the referee, then Chris Hammonds was next to him, then Torrance, then me. I'm like, I'm not going to talk to anybody. I'm just going to sit here. I get to go out with the captains.
Right.
Torrance did that every single game. He talked to somebody, and sometimes they talked back to him, and sometimes they wouldn't.
Yeah.
But he just that's him. He's excited, and he's going to tell you what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And he could back it up.
And they could back it up. But, again, from our standpoint, Rob and I have talked about this before. When you watch that on TV, Winky looked like he peed his pants. He looked scared. To me, he did. I mean, when you watch that over, he was talking back, but it was kind of like the, not a very good comeback, type talk. It was like, no, it was never his, it was mine. But he looked scared. Did you, or were you even paying that close attention to it?
Yeah, you either know how to talk trash or you don't.
Right.
I don't. I know I don't. I never try to. I just like, I'm just going to, push you or shove you or something like that. Torrance and Winky did what he tried to. But you recognize it. That wasn't very good. But
yeah.
That's just Torrance. That was one of his giftings is he could talk smack and then go play ball and it didn't affect him.
Right.
Some guys they talk smack and then you jaw back to them and they lose their cool. And
yeah.
It was just like breathing to him.
Now that game, again, Rob was at that game. I watched it on TV.
Yep.
And, again, watching it on TV, a fan's perspective is I was, even though the score was low, I never felt like they ever figured anything out about Oklahoma. I thought they were confused the whole game. And we pretty much you guys, I say we, like I was out there, but you guys just pretty much controlled that ball game. Didn't score a lot of points, but didn't give up any. Was that how you saw it playing it, or was it different, or was that the scheme, or what?
Yeah, that was arguably one of the best defenses ever at OU.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of big name talent, minus Roy and Rocky. A few guys that were young, but they played well together defensively, and then they knew what they were doing and were very, very good at it. Offensively, we had a good handle on things and what we were doing. It just a couple drives stall out and missed a couple scoring opportunities. And I think if you're winning the game 13-0, there's 2 touchdowns you leave on the field where you kick field goals.
Right.
And so it easily could have been 21. And I think there was another instance where we came up without a score, 28-0.
Right.
That's just my opinion, though. But.
Yeah. Well, but it's a good one. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's an old high school coach's opinion of what could have been in that game.
Yeah, but see, that's what I'm talking about. To me, it just never looked like that game was even close to getting out of hand for Oklahoma. And I always said there's coaches, from my perspective, watching on the sidelines, that you can tell their demeanor and when they're frustrated by just the look on their face. And Bobby Bowden was one who you could always tell he was frustrated and couldn't come up with an answer. Mac Brown was one. It was just their expressions, and there's other ones too, but they would show Bobby Bowden on the sidelines, and he looked like he was confused. And you see all their coaches over there talking, and it was almost a panic mode. Is what it looked like to me watching it on TV. Is they just didn't know how to answer what Oklahoma was doing. The only time I got up, or got scared was when the bad snap, and I was like, "Ooh, wait a second, that could make it interesting really quick." But other than that, I think that's the only time my heart, jumped a beat. But go ahead.
I I would say from our point of view, when you walk out there, you see their opponents, you see what's happening, you watch the film, you know what you have a pretty good feel at that point. Being the last game of the season, hey, we played all these other teams. We've seen them. We've seen these guys. We know what we're going against. We have a great chance to win this game if we take care of business.
Right.
And we went in there with the confidence, like I say confidence, not arrogance. There's a fine line between those two.
Right.
Knowing that we're going to win the game. There wasn't a doubt in our mind. We knew, like, you know, going through Kansas State, Nebraska, Texas A&M, those kind of games, we're like, we're going to do this, and you know, it doesn't matter what the score is, we're going to win the football game. It was a matter of fact to us. It was just a level of confidence that we had.
You know, and it's interesting you say that, because I remember watching, it was a couple years after. When was the USC game, national championship in the Orange Bowl? 2004?
Oh, it was 05. 04, 05,
yeah.
102.
Terry Bowden was talking about it after the game, and he said that he was on the field when you guys came out in 2000. And he saw the looks on the Sooners' faces, and he said just what you did. He said it was confident. These guys were there to do a job, and they were there to beat. And he goes, and he told his mom, I think he said his mom or his wife, that they were going to beat them. There's no way Florida State's going to beat these guys. But when he said, I was out here when Oklahoma walked on the field against USC, and it was completely different. It was cocky. It was arrogance. These guys were, loosey-goosey. They were serious, but you could just see a different mentality in the two teams. And Oklahoma went into that game, as he put it, was a little, with a little bit of cockiness instead of a little bit of confidence. And I just thought it was interesting that you guys, that's what you said, was that y'all knew, you knew what you had to do, but you had the confidence that it was just, you were going to make it happen. And
yeah, so not knowing the ins and outs of that team, the 04, 05 teams, it's hard to say kind of what happened. I just knew for us, there were so many of the guys that remember the 2-8, 3-8, 4-5.
Oh yeah,
the 4-7, 5-6. They remember those games. They remember A&M beating us 50-something to 10 2 years in a row. We remember all those things, and we knew it was time to do something about it. So it was just what we expected out of ourselves, the greatness we expected out of ourselves.
No.
We knew we had, but you have to, and it's playing with something to prove.
Right.
Playing with a chip on your shoulder. That's something for sure that every one of those guys had.
Yeah.
From the young guys like Roy Williams is a sophomore, Derek Strait is a freshman. Those are two Jim Thorpe Award winners. We're two young guys that had something to prove. Yeah, right. Josh Heupel, who's on his third college, he's been a 1AA school to a junior college to this school, who had something to prove.
Right.
He had a couple walk-ons starting on the front seven that had something to prove. So it's just like, we knew we had something to prove. We knew this was our time to go and do it.
Right. Now, you brought up Josh Heupel. As soon as the horn sounds or whatever, the gun goes off, the end of the game, and the offensive line turns around and picks him up. Why? I mean, what was it about Josh that caused you guys to do that?
Well, he was the consummate leader. He was the guy that directed the traffic. That was back when we huddled still. Yeah. And so, commanding the huddle, and I would yell huddle to tell everybody where to huddle, but it was his huddle.
Right.
When he got in there talking, you have to shut up, and he's the guy that leads it. That orchestrated so much change within the program. He had to take the vision and the direction and the culture from the coaches and help to lead in the same way with other players. And it's just, and there's tradition to it. You see those kind of things on TV, and we just knew, like, hey, this is what we're going to do.
That's cool. I just thought that was, the coolest thing, because it was almost immediate. that you got.
Well, here's a story that people don't know is before the season, Josh took the guy. There were 6 of us, the guys that were going to get real time on the offensive line, and we went and ate a bunch of barbecue, and we just kind of hung out. And he took time to make the guys feel important.
Right.
And we hung out for 3-4 hours at this barbecue restaurant, and knew that he had our back.
Right.
He was going to fight for us, and we knew we were going to fight for him. You don't mess with him. In the locker room, nobody messes with the quarterback or on the offensive line, and that's kind of how we were.
Right.
Every team and group's different, but that's how our team was. Our group was. It was like we can mess with him all we want to, but you're not going to mess with him.
Nobody else.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you can mess with us all you want. You can try to mess with us, but you're not going to. But we can mess with each other all we want.
Right.
That's just kind of how we were. We were a group that stood up for each other, and our quarterback. We're going to give the receivers a hard time, tell them to shut up, and they're going to like it.
Right.
Well, the O-line in that game played phenomenal. Frank Romero had the biggest guy I think I've ever seen, and I think he gave him a pretty good whipping all game long. You remember that guy?
I don't.
Yeah, Frank did well in his junior and senior year. He really, really came on and was second team All-American, something like that. I don't know exactly where that was, but he had a lot of success in the last 2 years. And
well, that O-line that year
good football player.
Was highly underrated. You guys were a whole lot better than they gave you credit for.
Oh yeah,
and the catalyst, I think, for the national championship. So
yeah, and
well, I mean, you look at it, you got me, the walk-on. You got a sophomore right guard that nobody believes in. You got a junior college guard that no one knew anything about at left guard, and you got Frank at left tackle, who's kind of he's the poster boy. Everybody's going to look at him. He's got all the size and stats, and you got Kent Nick at right tackle, who's had gone through some injuries, and people had doubts in him. He had a lot of potential, but everything kind of worked. It shook out really well for us.
Yeah. Well, I know us as fans, we appreciate all that you guys did because it had been a while, and the fan base, we know we're a little bit rabid. Me and Rob try to think we're a little bit more.
We try.
Yeah, but I mean, to a program like Oklahoma and the fan base that Oklahoma had that season, to me. I'm 51 years old. I remember the 85 and 86 teams, and even in the 70s team. To me, that team was the epitome of Oklahoma football. I mean, there was nothing going to stop that team from winning, and, it brought back all the old sayings, the Sooner Magic and all that stuff that was a lure back when I was a kid, watching games, and then you actually saw it that year happen game after game after game. And the memories that you guys gave us, I know don't even come close to what your memories are of it, but it means a lot to the fan base, especially somebody like myself who's like third generation Sooner fan, And
it was a good year.
Yeah, it was a great year. It was a great time to be a Sooner fan. So just like the last 18 years have been. But
yeah, I mean, you look at the whole, and the conference titles, the national title, the big award winners, and you used to talk about the Switzer years almost as the golden era, but now it's like we reestablished that.
Right.
And then Coach Riley's, looking like he's going to continue upon that.
Yeah.
And
what do you think?
Recruit. Go ahead.
What do you think about this year's team? And you just were fixing to bring up recruiting. What do you think about this team and the things to come with the Sooners?
I really like what Coach B. I'm an O-line guy. I'm a coach, an ex-high school coach. So I really like what Coach Beanball's doing up front with those guys, with the linemen. He does a great job of developing them. Great job of pointing out talent and recruiting. So I think he's done an incredible job of that. And they're just what I see is in the first and second quarter, they're going to pound on you, they're going to work on you, and then the third and fourth quarter, they're just going to whip you up front. That's what I see. I really I've only watched one game. I watched the Iowa State game, and I really was impressed with how Murray handled himself in some pressure situations.
Right.
And then maybe after a mistake or a drop ball or something, he just was calm. He didn't, he gets excited, but he doesn't get as excited as Baker does. But
I don't think anybody does. So
he handles himself really, really well.
Right.
But I mean, he's.
Yeah, and
I feel that they have a lot of potential as a team. It just depends on how far their D-line will take them.
Right.
This is me as a coach speaking. I haven't watched it very close, but in that 04 and 05 game, we had great defensive line, but it's just that we could only go so far.
Right.
We faced LSU and USC, and they were just better up front.
Right.
That's we can talk about the big name players, but they were better up front.
Yeah.
That's an unfortunate thing. And so I really say we'll go as far as our O-line and D-line will take us. Our O-line looks really solid right now. And what I saw in Iowa State was one of the best Iowa State teams I've ever seen.
Yeah.
How the quarterback handled himself for Iowa State, the running back was phenomenal. They had that receiver, 6'6" receiver, who was amazing. I don't think people understand how good of an Iowa State team that is. It's different.
Right.
It's not the Iowa State of old.
Right.
Not at all. Iowa State's always been a respectable team that's always came in and competed, but this is different. These guys are good. You know how Baylor turned around and they were scary there for a couple of years.
Right.
You could see that. They're not going to be as fancy and flamboyant as Baylor tried to be, but they're going to beat some people.
Yeah.
Iowa State will.
Well, and they did last year. They were the nail in the side.
They were the blemish on the record.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is, the Sooners are going to remember that. They're going to say, okay, we're going to go in there, and they gave them all they wanted.
Right.
So that's a good Iowa State team. So, and I just think that you're going to see some more stuff like that. But it's the character of the team in those games when you're up 7 and they answer you with a field goal, or you're up 14 and they answer you with a touchdown, and they're within one score of you, and your character will show in those games.
Right. And
what kind of team will you be?
Right.
Where are your leaders going to show up? Who's going to rally the troops and those kind of things? So that's what I see is the character, leadership, and I say D-line because the O-line is highly touted right now.
Right.
We'll see.
Right. But that's with a lot of the fan base on Twitter and all that stuff, because that's kind of how we have to promote ourselves is on Twitter. But you see a lot of the fan base was just tearing the defense apart, tearing Mike Stoops again apart. And I was like, I had a couple of conversations with guys. Mine are always, I try to be civil. I run our Twitter account, but the guy was like, it's all Mike Stoops, it's all this and this and this. And I just threw the question out there, is like, our defense just held a team to 27 points. With this offense, if we hold a team to 27 points, we should win every game. But my flip question was, why is it that Iowa State is the only team the last 2 years that held Oklahoma under 40, besides Texas? Texas held us below 40 last year. Iowa State's done it back to back. So their defense has done something that even Gary Patterson hasn't been able to figure out, is that's how to slow down this offense. So
yeah, and that's where I see something different out of Iowa State than two other teams.
Right.
They may not have the horses to last the whole season, but one game, and here's people don't understand is that OU will get everybody's best for that one game.
Oh yeah.
And as some teams, it's their only game they look forward to all year.
Right.
And you're going to get their best. And sometimes it ain't going to be very pretty. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. You know, we can go back and we can talk about that Texas A&M win from 2000. That was an ugly football game.
Oh yeah.
We found a way to win. Great teams find a way to win.
Right.
Championship teams find a way to win. In the season, in the moment, everybody's going to complain about this coach or that coach. But here's the thing: when it's over, you won a lot of football games.
Right.
Get over it.
Right. Right. You know, and I tell you, that's like my dad used to say. You know, the worst you can beat anybody is by 1 point. Everything else doesn't really matter. You just need to be 1 point better. You know, if you're
in 50 years, you're not going to care.
Right.
You're just going to know you won the game.
Right. You know, you can beat somebody. You know, 7-6 or 77-6. It's still the same thing. You won the game, and it may not be style points, but you know, at the end of the season, you want to have 13 1-win games. 1 point games. That's all you need.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
You know, so but that was my, but again, that comes from my dad. But he was also the Sooner fan. That if we were, back in the day, if we were beating Kansas, 77-7 in the third quarter, and Kansas scored a touchdown, he would throw stuff at the TV. So he would say that, but he didn't live by it. But
yeah, I mean, that's the level of expectancy that Sooners fans have.
Right.
We're a bunch of spoiled brats. Here's the truth. I grew up one. I am one still.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, Rob and I are the same. We sit around, and Rob and I have been friends for a long time now, and we started doing this podcast because we sit around and talk about Oklahoma football all the time. We talk about other sports too, but I mean, even in the summertime, I mean, that's what we talk about, and we decided to, put a microphone in front of our face and just start recording ourselves.
And we're having fun doing
and we're having fun doing it. But, I mean, I think it's one of the, you're right. It's maybe the most spoiled fan base in the country, but I also think it's the best fan base.
I mean, every year in the middle of the season, you're going to complain about something.
Oh yeah,
that's part of it,
right?
And every year at the end of the season, you're going to say, "Man, that was a great year."
Yeah.
So, hey, that's part. That's part of it. If you're going to coach at Oklahoma, get used to it. It's coming.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter that you beat everybody. There's going to be that group of people that are going to find something to complain about. Well, hey, Bubba, tell everybody what you're doing now.
So now I'm working. I used to be a high school football coach, and I work in ministry now. I work part time at my church. I work specifically with the men at my church, forming teams, helping them to find other men to connect with. Men need teammates. Men need coaches. So just trying to do those things, connect men at our church, and then for the state, on the state level, called the Baptist General Convention of Oklahoma, I am the men's consultant, and we put on a men's retreat every spring, men's conference. There'll be 3,000 men there. It'll be held at Falls Creek. If you're Southern Baptist in the state of Oklahoma, you know what Falls Creek is. So it's held at Falls Creek, and you're there for 24 hours, time to get away and just refocus on your faith. But, we want to see men's lives transformed by the gospel, because we believe that's what changes culture is men. Men can lead. Men are, it's biblical that men are to lead. And so we're just trying to help raise and develop a new generation of leaders that's going to impact our culture for Christ. And that's, that's what I do. I'm unashamed in that. And that's my passion and the reason I exist.
Well, number one, we appreciate your passion and your gift that you have now. Okay, as Rob and I both Christians, and
absolutely,
and appreciate your work now. But we also want to thank you for the memories, and you and that group of guys for the 2000 season. It was one like I said, people will still look back, my kids will still talk about, when I'm dead and gone, they will be talking about the 2000 season with their kids. Will be going, what are you talking about? That was, years ago. So,
yeah, I know. It's like I talk to my kids about 85.
Yeah.
When I was a kid. And I don't tell the stories from when I was playing just because, they hear them from other people. So,
right.
And they just, it's fun. It's the lore of college football. So it's just continue to tell those stories and it's fun.
Well, again, Bubba, we appreciate you coming on with us. God bless you and your work that you're doing now. And thanks for taking a little bit of time out to share with our podcast fans your memories of that 2000 season.
Thank you, sir. You guys have a good night.
All right, you too.
Thanks, Bubba.
All right, bye-bye.
Well, there we go, talking to another great Sooner, Bubba Burcham.
I really feel, Terry, like my statement about hog mollies is better than dirt eaters.
No. It's dirt eaters.
Are you sure? Are you sure about that?
Hog mollies sounds like really ugly women in boots.
Yeah, offensive linemen. Duh.
I said women.
That's a
ugly
women. Oh, yeah. Go ahead and call Bubba Burcham a woman.
No, we called them. Our coach McMullen at McAllister High School, called us dirt eaters. We were the guys in the dirt, digging it up and stuff. But,
yeah, I see that.
So. What are we thinking this weekend? Is it even going to be a contest, Rob?
Well, I don't think it will. I don't think it will be at all. I think that the defense has shown, even though last week wasn't the greatest showing, they still were swarming and they were penetrating, and so I think that penetration kills the option. I think we're going to be in the backfield a lot.
Right.
I mean, I hope.
Yeah.
So really, that's all I can base that on. I think we'll get. We'll be all over them. We're going to make them pass to beat us, which is smart.
Right.
That's
well, but I think Army will resort to that for a little bit, and then they're just going to try to just keep the ball out of our hands as much as possible. Just
yeah.
I'm not going to have. We've talked about the Kool-Aid. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. We're still not drinking the Kool-Aid. I probably won't until after Texas. But I really got a feeling that these guys got something special working on that defensive side of the ball this year. Just from the press conference and the reporters talking to all the defensive backs about tackling. And they knew, like I said, but it's probably because they were in a film room for 6 hours getting drilled about tackling, but they accepted the responsibility. It was we didn't tackle well. We know better than that.
They'll probably come out with a little bit of a purpose,
right? So
and honestly, I don't think their defense. I think we're going to go through them kind of like butter,
right?
So I think that the respect that we're going to have for Army is going to keep it lower than it could be,
right?
But I still think we'll probably win it pretty handily.
Yeah. So. How many yards did you say that you'd be happy with? 200? What you said?
I mean, if they're going to run it 70 times, which is, I don't think they'll get that many. But
yeah. So you think, are you sticking with 200 rushing yards for them? 200.
And really, if the defense humps up and comes out with something to prove, we could do better than that.
Yeah. What's your score?
My score, let's think about that a minute. I think we're probably going to do like 49 to 10. 49 to 10.
Yeah.
Sound about right?
Yeah. And I'm kind of on that same rail there. I think I'm a little bit like here. If they get more than 150 yards, it's going to surprise me. I just don't think they can move the ball on us. Athletically, we're just too big, too fast.
Well, that's what we hope.
Yeah.
But, if they start busting it out and it's, 35 to 21 or something.
I'll have to move if they do that because I can't deal with people screaming that we only beat Army 49 to 14.
Hey, I'll take 21 to 20.
Yeah, I will too.
Got to be honest with you. If it's that, and I said this last week, people are looking for confirmation that we are an elite football team. We belong in the same discussion with Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State. Performance last week may not have said that.
Right.
And so fans
performance this week.
A little disappointed.
Yeah.
So hopefully, this week we come out and we don't embarrass Army, but we, everybody realizes that we could if we wanted to,
right.
Kind of a deal.
Yeah. And I'm predicting 150 yards, 55-17. And I think I think it's going to be a lot like FAU. Dogs are going to get called off early. Mm-hmm. And they're going to score in the fourth quarter. I mean, I just don't think they can score on our first team.
Well, if they do, it could be a dogfight all game. I mean, really.
Yeah, I mean, a game that, worried us at the beginning of the year, and just the improvements I think that we've seen. I'm pretty confident in this week. Wasn't last week, but I'm pretty confident in this week. So, again, I feel dirty and unpatriotic for saying that, but but it is
what it is. They will come in here and fight now.
Yeah,
it's not going to be no. We're going to walk over, but we're going to limp back.
Yeah.
Kind of deal.
Yeah,
we'll know we've been in a football game.
Yeah.
I can just promise you.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting what Teddy said the other night. When he played Air Force up at Air Force, he said there was no trash talk, by them and by us, and I think that's how Lincoln is. And he said that precedence was set by Stoops. I don't know if you remember him talking about that. Was like we trash talk, we do we walk the walk. Not this week. You
Nice.
Go out there and do your jobs. And that's what Teddy said Stoops did. So I got a sneaking suspicion that just from what hearing, Lincoln talk that's, there's a different type of respect for these athletes that are coming in here, and that's something.
And there should be.
Yeah,
I think.
And that's something that I wish I'd brought up earlier, but I do want to bring up. It's a military academy. I get that, and everybody who goes there is military. When they get out, they don't go to work. They go to they go into the military. I wonder why it is, because in the 40s and 50s, they were one of the best teams, and maybe even in the 60s, they were them and Navy, they were dominant college football. I wonder why Army doesn't West Point, the Naval Academy, all that open up to civilian students, student athletes.
So once they graduate, they're just graduated.
Instead of graduating going into the military, they graduate and go into a military contract company. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that
like Boeing or something like that.
Some of these guys graduate with a pretty high clearance, I would assume.
Yeah.
And go into intelligence and things like that, and that's it's probably just too delicate to let just GP in general public.
Yeah, but it would be neat to see the military academies be more dominant.
Yeah,
or at least more competitive.
It's already an elite education. Right?
Oh yeah,
it's up there, so they can't have it all.
Yeah, but again, our hats off to all the military
absolutely
people out there, and these guys that a lot of. It's funny, a lot of enlisted men are like, they're going to, but it's different, because they do come out pretty high ranked, but the fact is, that these guys are, not just giving 4 years of their life to a college and a football scholarship. Some of them are giving up 8, 10, and the rest of their lives,
and they're putting their lives on the line
and to service.
You know what? Just like the guy that does our bumper music.
Yeah, JD.
Nothing but respect.
All right,
nothing but respect for him.
So,
and my friend Scotty from LA, U.S. Marines.
Yeah,
and then of course I had 2 sons in the U.S. Army. So,
right. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's going to be a fun environment. I'm sure we're not going to get quite the pomp and circumstance that we were going to get because of the weather, which it's a shame. But because Oklahoma does do it upright.
So what I'm hearing now is parachuters. I think that's public knowledge, though, right?
Yeah, I think that's Friday, though. I think they're doing that on Friday now.
And some other stuff I think is possibly getting canceled.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if it's raining and overcast like they're saying it's going to be, they're not going to have quite as much pomp and circumstance as normally the university would put up for a military academy. But it's still going to be a good game. It's still a Sooner game. So we've got all of our predictions in, ready to go take on Army. And then we get into conference play 2 weeks. So take care of business this week and move on. So,
yeah.
But that's the podcast. Everybody remember, if you're out and about in Norman, you want to get here early, we'll probably be at Buffalo Wild Wings when they open up at 11. And we'll have an area in there set up for everybody just to come and sit down, stay dry. It's family friendly. Bring your kids, have some drinks, have some food, and get over to the game. So that's the podcast for today. If everybody has a good week, Boomer up.
Boomer Terry.
Thanks for listening to the Sooner Football Fans Podcast, our Tailgate Like a Champion Beat Army edition. Remember, stop what you're doing, subscribe right now so you won't miss a single episode. Come out and meet us and the Boomer Boys, Just Okay in Oklahoma, and everyone from Reload Status Oklahoma edition, and a lot of other fans are going to be there from all over this region and Arizona. Come out to Buffalo Wild Wings, Highway 77 and Highway 9 in Norman at 11 o'clock Saturday morning for a pregame.